Hello, everybody. This is Paul Carruthers, and this is the weekly MotoAmerica podcast, Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I'm joined, as always, by Sean Bice, who's out in Ohio. I'm in Southern California, and we'll have a guest here in a few minutes. Sean, how's everything going for you?
Yeah, it's going good. This is our first after dark when I feel like I should put on a different affect, not Elvira Mistress of the Dark, but maybe a coat and smoke a pipe and everything, because it's like late Thursday night for us right now. But hey, Paul, a couple things, little couple of things I wanted to talk about. Of course, we were just talking about this. So unfortunately, we just heard of the unfortunate passing of Wes Cooley, one of our Superbike champions. And I have to say, I regret the fact that I never met Sam. He was at Sam. I never met Wes Cooley. He was at Road Atlanta a couple of years ago. I think Suzuki brought him in, and even then I didn't get a chance to go over and say hello to him. I'm sure you knew him though, Paul. Is that right?
I got a chance to know him, obviously when he raced, and then also he came to a couple of MotoAmerica races. I think he went to Utah as well one time. That we hooked him up with, and he came out and enjoyed that. Really a nice man, and a heck of a motorcycle racer. I mean, if you talk to Wayne would tell you, because Wayne's raced with him, and he was fast, and he won he won two AMA Superbike championships, which those don't come on the back of cereal boxes. So yeah, right. He was good, and I know he's been ill the last couple of years. So, I don't know the circumstances, but hopefully he went peacefully, and he'll be remembered as an AMA Superbike champion and as a nice man. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, and for sure, our hearts go out to his friends and family for sure. The other bit of business I wanted to get to is I actually got David Swartz from Road Racing World had got in touch with me earlier this week, because when we had Teague Daney last week and we were talking about Supersport and Supersport Next Generation, I took myself down a little bit of a rabbit hole regarding the Honda CBR 600RR, and I wanted to kind of talk about that for a minute. It's been weird because I've even read a bunch of stuff on the internet about the fact that, they don't make that bike anymore. That bike's not available. Well, if you go on Honda's website, they actually have it listed as a 2021 CBR 600RR. And it was ironic that I heard from David on Benny Solis's birthday, and Benny's like the last rider that I can remember that raced a Honda CBR in our series. And it's funny because, there are still riders racing an R6. And if you go on Yamaha's website, they don't list an R6. I mean, the last one they list is in a 2020. And as you know, I think it's still available through the racing department as a race only bike. And it's the Honda. I mean, like I said, didn't know it existed, and literally they're still on the website, and I still see them around. I know they're an awesome street bike. So I guess I need to fall on my sword a little bit and say that was a faux pas on my part, and apologies to American Honda. I also don't know if by the time Daytona rolls around, or if they're going to have a 2022 model of that Honda CBR 600RR, but it's definitely something that's a little bit of an unknown at this point. And my apologies that I didn't quite understand that so well. So, but funny thing is, Paul, that's talking about that 600 series, and it's sort of is a nice segue into our guests for tonight. So I'll leave that to you to introduce them.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to go buy one of those Hondas, and then when you told me that, I didn't bother. So you saved me some money. I remember when Benny Solis got on the podium with that bike.
Yes,
it was a big deal because they hadn't been on a podium in a while, and like you said, he was the only guy ever campaigning that Honda, at least in the MotoAmerica era. Obviously, they had huge success prior to that, so it was kind of cool when he got on the podium for him and also for Honda. But yeah, our guest today is like you said, it's a good time to tune into to our guest, because he's also a Supersport rider. And I'm going to go on record here because our guest is Sam Lochoff, and Sam, I believe, started with us in 2019, and I think he can correct me when we get to him, but I think that was the year that he broke his leg because he didn't finish the season.
Yes, that's right.
And then in 2020, he finished third in the MotoAmerica Junior Cup. He had 13 podiums, but no wins. And then lo and behold, last year he moved up to Supersport with the M4 X-Star Suzuki team. And I'm going to be quite honest, I didn't think that he would do as well as he did. In my mind, I thought it would take him a little more time based on the fact that there were other guys moving up from Junior Cup that had beaten him. So I didn't think he was going to end up being the top class rookie, but he certainly was. I think he surprised not only myself, but I think he surprised a lot of people. He finished third in the Supersport Championship. He was behind Sean Dylan Kelly, the champion, and Richie Escalante. And those guys, as everyone saw on TV, or if they were lucky enough to come to the races, the battles that those two had back and forth, and just crazy racing. Well, we got to New Jersey, and this South African kid, Sam Lochoff, you could see that he'd obviously earned some podiums. I think he ended up with 6 on the season. But you could see him chipping away at this. And he went about his season like really smart. Like you could tell he was gaining speed, but he wasn't doing it in huge chunks, and he wasn't doing it by throwing the thing down the road. He was taking his time. Well, in New Jersey, he got there. He got to the front. He raced with those guys, and he actually beat them in a straight fight. I mean, it wasn't like these guys crashed out. It wasn't like their bikes broke. He won the race, and those guys were second and third. So, to coin a Jake Gagne phrase, hats off to him, because he really did do a very, very good job of racing in 2021. I think his timing is awesome. Sean Dylan Kelly has left the team and is going to Moto2. I don't know the particulars of where he stands with his contract or what have you, but I mean, the timing is right, because Sam Lochoff could potentially just step into the number 1 seat in the Supersport class for that team and continue what he started this year. So anyway, let's welcome Sam to the show. How are you today, Sam?
Hey, thank you. I appreciate the warm welcome, and yeah, I'm doing good. I started my off season about 3 days ago, so just taking it easy for the next couple of days.
Now let's jump right into something real quick, because you just went to Daytona and you won. I don't know if you won more than one race, but I know you won at least one race.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It was your first time to Daytona International Raceway, the first time on the high banks. I just got to ask you real quick, what was your feeling like those first laps around there?
Yeah, not gonna lie, when I was driving into the track and I looked to my right and I saw the banking, I was a little intimidated and I was a little bit nervous. But my first session was actually wet, and I was on slicks just because they said we can't run wet tires on the banking. So I just wanted to learn the track, and that's what I did. I went out for like 2-3 laps. The track was pretty wet, but after when the track started drying and I got on the banking, and I realized it's pretty much a straightaway, just kind of sideways.
Kind of bent.
Yeah, I realized it's not as bad as I made myself think it was gonna be. So yeah, I won. I know I won the team race, the 55 lap, but it got cut short because of red flag. But I'm not too sure about I think I won another race, and then I got like third, and then maybe a fourth.
So Sam, it's been a few years since, well, we've been there. I mean, Paul and I, and we haven't been there in MotoAmerica's time, but I'll never forget the first time I went there and went out to that track and went out to the banks and high banks and literally tried to walk up that banking, and it's like nearly impossible to even do it. Did you avoid that, or did you actually do that before you went on the track or after you went on the track? Did you get a sense of how crazy that banking is?
The only thing I knew and saw was just driving, and it was raining, so I didn't really want to walk the track when it was raining. But yeah, I could definitely see it from my car window. I pulled over to the side and like took about 5 minutes to kind of think of what I was about to do tomorrow. And then yeah, I got out there, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, Sam, did you race an endurance race by yourself? Is that what I read? Correct?
Yeah, so it was a team challenge. It was pretty much a replica of the Daytona 200. I think it was like 57 laps instead of 59. So 2 laps less than the Daytona 200. So yeah, M4 X-Star Suzuki Team Hammer, they helped me get out there to practice and ride the track, and Dunlop as well. They helped me get some tires, and we tested some tires over there. But Yeah, I did the race by myself, and you know, I felt pretty good. That track isn't physically demanding. My lap times didn't drop. We tested out some tires. We figured out the ones I raced on for the endurance race were the wrong ones because I just had no grip from start to finish. But you know, we still managed to get it done, and now we know for the Daytona 200 which tires I need.
Well, that was what I wanted to ask you. I mean, you know, we'll see if, I guess, if John Ulrich and Chris Ulrich let you say this, but the assumption is if you did a simulation of a Daytona 200, it sounds like you're going to probably be racing the Daytona 200 when it comes up this March. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll be riding for M4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're actually, we've been trying to find out from a bunch of riders. So you are literally the first rider that we can confirm is going to be in our first Daytona 200 in the MotoAmerica era, the 80th Daytona 200 but you obviously clearly will be with Team Hammer M4 Suzuki. Does that mean you will be in the Supersport class for the season as well?
That I do not know yet. Still speaking to Chris and John. I definitely am gonna be racing in MotoAmerica. I'm pretty sure. You know, I'm struggling with some passport issues because so I can't really go overseas even if I wanted to. But yeah, I want to do another year with M4X or Suzuki. But we know I just got to speak to Chris and John, finalize some contract things, and then yeah, you know, Jake Zemke, he's managing me now, so that's something else that no one else knows. But
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys are the first. But yeah, I'm glad I could be working with him and glad he can be my manager.
Yeah, that's good news. As I alluded to earlier, your timing is pretty good, and you just said that you're going to be back with that team. You're not entirely sure what class you'll be racing in. I would probably bet on it being super sport, but I've been wrong before. I think maybe once. But what you would come into that championship as probably the favorite to win it based on the fact that you finished third. I mean, we don't know what Richie's doing, obviously, so that might not be completely fair to say. But you've established yourself as a guy to be in that class. And as I said in my intro to you, honestly, I didn't anticipate you doing this. It's not to say that I didn't think you were going to get here. I just didn't think you would get here that quickly. I thought, you know, as many probably did, that Rocco Landers would shine a little brighter than you based on what happened in Junior Cup. And like I said before, we were wrong. I think I asked you this after you won your first race, but has all this kind of happened a little quicker than you thought as well?
Yeah, of course. You know, I went into the season with PJ Jacobson and even my team M4X or Suzuki, and I told them like my goals, my personal goals, are top 10 for the season because I did the test in Coda just straight after, like 2 weeks after I dislocated my hip and broke some things in my left foot. I went into the test and I was like 9 seconds slower than the front, and that kind of told me, okay, you know, we have some work to do. The injuries had a little bit to do with my times at Coda, but yeah, I was expecting some top tens. I don't really put any pressure with on myself, and I heard you saying earlier as well that I kind of took it slow, just gaining momentum, and that's exactly what I did. You know, PJ helped me a lot with that. He actually helped me not crash as much as I think if he wasn't there I would have, because I would have probably pushed a little harder. And you know, he guided me the right way, and I'm just going to take that. And next year, I think I am the favorite to win the championship because of this year. We still don't know what Richie's doing, but even if he's back in the 600, you know, I'm still working. I just came third in the championship, and I don't want to settle for third again. I came third last year as well in 2020, and I'm going for everything.
Hey, Sam, let's talk a little bit about PJ because, you know, I would say he's kind of in the middle of his racing career still. And, you know, we thought he'd be racing this year. It surprised me that he worked with you. I'm certainly glad he did because it's incredible what he's done with you. And we always saw him with you. And can you talk a little bit about him, how you came to start working with him and how the whole coaching thing came about? And is that going to continue this year? Where is that at? And I guess I'm going to ask you to speak a little bit for PJ. I think he still wants to race. Could he do that and still coach you, I guess? So there's a lot of questions in there, Sam, about PJ, but if you can kind of talk about that whole thing a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'll talk about how I got him to coach me and how I met him. So I actually met him in France when I was racing World Championship, and I actually stole his table at a restaurant by accident, and we kind of got in like little arguments with me, him, and my dad, because yeah, no one knew each other. We still didn't know like both of us race, but once we kind of got that settled down, we then kind of worked it out better. But so that's how I met him, and then I came here to race, and I joined HSBK Racing in the end of 2019, just before I broke my femur, like you did say. And he was my teammate for that year, and when he started on the Ducati. Um, and then, I knew he's got a lot of talent, and I honestly don't know if he's going to carry on racing, not because like I know that, I don't know what his position is, if he's going to get a ride, if he wants to ride or anything. But yeah, I saw how much potential he had, and I saw how he's like mind and his head, and he had a good head. And then I spoke to my dad, and my dad and I were looking at him, and we reached out to him, wondering because we still knew he was injured from the burns and that, asking him if he's going to race again or what he's doing, and he himself didn't know. So we reached out to him, and yeah, we got him to train me, and we spent a lot of times at Jennings, and then I moved into his house in New York for the season. And for next year, I don't believe he'll train me. I'm actually moving out to California pretty soon, within the next 2 months, next month and a half, to ride Chuck Waller and those California tracks. But yeah, with PJ, I'm not sure where he's going with his career, if he's done, if he wants to carry on racing. But I'm pretty sure him and I are done. But we ended on very good terms. I appreciate everything he did, and yeah, I think Jake's gonna help me a lot now as well, and that's all I got on PJ.
Yeah, you're definitely on your way for sure. And I mean, that's cool what he was able to do. I always hesitate to talk to riders about some of the injuries they've had during, I hate to talk to them during the season, especially in the paddock on a race weekend, because their minds are focused on racing. But now that it's the off season, I want to ask you about when you broke your femur. That's the kind of injury, my gosh, when I hear that, it just makes me cringe. And I mean, I think the first person I can think of was Larry Pegram, and I think he broke his femur twice. But then, I was Garrett Gerloff when he broke his femur at Daytona. I was on that team then. Obviously, your situation, Gus Rodeo has done it. I think Anthony Mazziato. There have been some riders that have had that happen to, and everybody that has come out of that injury and seems to be good. I don't think you even limp now. Do you have any issues at all with your femur, and do you still have a rod in there?
Yeah. So when I broke it, it was honestly pretty bad. I lost quite a lot of blood and everything. But going back, injuries in this sport are unfortunately they're going to happen. It was unfortunately my first bone to break, and I've got like the smallest limp. It's not really noticeable, but the only thing that really bothers me is just the cold. And I used to have 2 screws in the bottom by my knee, and we had to get that removed because I could feel it if I just touched the inside of my my thigh. But other than that, yeah, I still have the rod, and I still have like 2 screws that are close to my hip inside. And as far as I know, I'm going to leave them in there until they stop bothering me.
Sean, when you're short like Sam and I are, you don't really notice the limp too much.
Yeah.
It's really small. It's like a quarter of an inch limp,
And even if they had to make my leg a little short, it's just less weight. So
there you go. Perfect. It's more space in the airplane. So Sam, tell us a little bit, because I'm not entirely sure of your past, or certain of knowing your past. And I know a lot of the people that are listening aren't. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how Sam Lochoff got started in all this racing stuff, how he ended up in America from South Africa, etc. Give us, the shorter version, but give us, update us on how that all happened.
Yeah, so I was a smaller kid, a pretty chubby kid, I would say. Not too bad, but just a little. But I'd had so much energy, and I just annoy my parents every single day, just trying to find something to do. So the one time we went indoor go-karting, I must have been maybe 14, 13. And I didn't even know indoor go-karting was a thing until my dad told me. And I honestly didn't even know bike racing was a thing, or car racing, because I just never grew up in that sport. And I went indoor go-karting once, and I decent at it, hit a couple fences and that, but pretty decent. And then the one time we decided to go to like a racetrack because we asked where the faster karts are and everything. And we went outside to a go-kart track, and I saw these karts and got in one, and I raced for about 8 months when I was like 14. And then every time I'd practice on a Monday, I would always see bikes going on the big track, because inside of the big track there's normally always the go-kart track, and I would see big bikes going around the track, and I was like always looking at my dad like, I want to do this, I want to try, but we pushed it off for a couple months. And then the one time there was a race, and my dad asked my mom, without me knowing, he was like, should I take Sam to go watch his motorbike race? And my mom's like, no, because if you're going to take him, he's going to want to ride one. And my dad has always been against bikes. Like before I started, it was no, never getting on a bike. I was never allowed to ride on the back of a bike or anything. But yeah, we went to that race. My dad didn't listen, went to the race, and I sat on a little NSF 100. And 2 days later, on the Monday, I was on the go-kart track riding that little 110.
Wow.
Did it come pretty easy?
The lines were there because of the go-karting. But honestly, I crashed a lot because I didn't really understand you can't brake leaning over. Mm-hmm. Because in the go-karts, you'd brake like up and down and then just let go. But on the bike, I'd brake and let go, but I'd have too much speed. So I just grabbed the brakes again, and that wouldn't work. I would crash a lot. And then with maybe, I think a year, 2 years into it, I kind of started understanding and realizing how and why I was going quick. And then, yeah, a lot of the races, I did my first race with like 2 months into starting to ride a bike. And I had to always get a guy to hold the bike up because I couldn't touch the floor. And on the starting line, so I'd have to start in the back, and he'd put it in gear for me because I didn't know like how to shift properly, or I didn't understand the one up and however many down. So yeah, I started only about four years. I started in 2016. May 2016 was the first time I sat on a motorbike.
Crazy.
It's funny, Sam. I learned about you when you came to race for Westby Racing, but I didn't know how you came to race for Westby. Did you prior to this know of Matthew Skoltz, or did you know him personally? I mean, I know that you knew Dominic Doyle a little bit because when you were on that team, you'd talk about racing against Dom a little bit. But did you know Matthew?
No, I didn't know Matthew or Cam Peterson. I didn't know them. I think they finished up in South Africa before I started racing. But I honestly don't know how I got involved with Westby. I think my dad, obviously, he talked to some people because he knew someone in South Africa that knew international connections. And I think that guy my dad knew put us onto Westby.
So let me ask you this. I don't know if this is going to piss anybody off, but I'm going to try to be diplomatic about it. I think I'm going to talk about something that's fairly obvious, Sam. I don't think this is going to piss you off. But okay, you were on a motorcycle that it was a little bit like bringing a knife to a gunfight, and you did pretty well. I mean, you actually did well on that bike. We've seen some other riders on that bike, and it's not as competitive as the Kawasaki. But did that help you in any way to be on that bike? I mean, did it teach you anything about corner speed or trying to make things up, lack of power for better drafting or anything like that? Were there any benefits to that, I guess is my question.
Yeah, there was a lot of benefits. The upside down forks on the R3 kind of helped brake deeper, learn a lot about braking. But other than that, the R3 handles well, but it's just not a quick bike itself. No matter who builds it, it's just not competitive compared to the 400. And it taught me a lot mentally, like, because I knew going into every race weekend I was at a disadvantage just because the bike itself wasn't as quick as the 400s. And I podiumed my first race in America. So yeah. I podiumed my first race on the R3, and then after that, people started getting their 400s pretty dialed in, and I just couldn't stay with them. I think in like Utah, before I broke my femur, I was finishing like 11th and 13th, and then I got on a Kawasaki and I was finishing top 3 every race. So the bike definitely had something to do with it. It taught me a lot mentally.
That's good. So when I'll never forget this, when I first met you and I met your dad, and so this is probably something you never thought of, but your teammate this past year with Sean Dillon Kelly. And I know your dad as Shane Danny Lochoff. And I don't know, like, what do you call him and what do people call him? Do you call him Dad, but do people call him Shane? Do they call him Danny, or do they call him Shane Danny like I was introduced to him? What is the guy's name actually?
Yeah, so obviously I call him Dad, but he's not the greatest at hearing, so I call him Shane a lot because he gets his attention more often. But yeah, normally people from South Africa call him Shane, but when my dad says my name is Shane in America, people don't like just because of the accent, they don't like know what he's saying, so he just says Danny. So if you're confused, it's probably normal because I don't even know what other people call him.
That's funny. I want to go back to that race in New Jersey that you won. That whole weekend, the Supersport race was amazing because we were used to seeing 2 guys there, and suddenly we had 3 because you were a part of both battles. Obviously, the first day, you lost touch a little bit, and the second day, you obviously gave him a little bit of a beating. So, what was that like suddenly being in that battle with those 2 guys? They're fighting for the championship still, and here you were. One of them's your teammate. Was that a difficult situation, or were you just like on your game, wanted to win, and didn't have to worry about anything else?
Yeah, no, those two guys were both competitors to me. I know Sean was my teammate. I wasn't going to do anything to risk his championship because I knew that wouldn't obviously be good for both of us. So, riding around Sean more, I was a little more careful. I still wasn't not trying anything, but against Richie, I was a little more aggressive because, just he's another racer. But Sean, yeah, I was a little bit more, not relaxed on him, but I took a little easy on him. I know it's kind of weird for me saying that, but yeah, I think on Friday I got the what is it called? The pole, not the unofficial pole.
Oh, provisional.
Oh, provisional pole. Yeah.
So I got provisional pole on Friday, and I knew I had pace. Like I had pace the whole weekend, and then on Saturday, the first race, I had pace. I was racing against them, passing them, and with 5 laps to go, Richie got in front and just put in a pretty good lap time and dropped me, and I wasn't ready for that. And if you go back and watch the race on Sunday, he did the same thing. Richie got in front with about 5 laps to go and put in a good lap time. He dropped me again, but not as much as last time. But I knew it was coming because he did it the day before, and he's done it in past races where he just goes with 5 to go. So I was ready for it, and honestly, that definitely helped me get the win because my drive out of the last corner was crazy. I don't know why it was so much better than both of theirs, but it was good, and obviously it was good enough to get the win, and it made my life a lot easier.
Okay, coming into this year, obviously Rocco Landers, was pretty dominant in the Junior Cup class, and then maybe not. I can't recall if it was right away, but anyway, by the halfway through the season and the end of the season, obviously you were consistently beating him. Did you find that surprising? And did you guys have any sort of rivalry there that came over from Junior Cup? I mean, when you come in and you look at the screen, are you looking at guys like that to see how you compare with them as far as lap times go?
Yeah, I said to myself at the beginning of the season, I knew Rocco was consistently about half a second quicker than me in Junior Cup. So I said, if I can just consistently stick half a second behind Rocco, that means like in the 600, that means like I'm improving just as much as I should. And then, he was quicker than me some race weekends. I was quicker than him in others. But I think just my mindset going into the season, not saying, oh, I have to beat this guy, I was just trying to race. I was racing myself this whole year, and I was just taking it pretty easy the first couple of races. I was still pushing, had a few moments, but just the 600 is way different to the 400. You can't get on the gas nearly as hard, and you have to honestly respect the bike way more. Otherwise, it can throw you off.
And today that we got a little bit of news, which actually raised the eyebrows of me as well as Paul, and it was about one of your countrymen. First of all, I think you're probably the same way with us here in America, when we see Cameron Beaubier or Garrett Gerloff or Joe Roberts race in the World Championships, we get really excited about it. Well, one of your countrymen, Darren Binder, is going to be racing, just announced he's going to be racing in MotoGP, and he got the ride from a Moto3 ride. Completely skipped Moto2, which really raised our eyebrows quite a bit. That's easy for me to say. So my question, Sam, is well, first of all, do you know the Binders? I mean, I know that Matthew and Cam Peterson know them. I think Cam's the better friends with the Binders than any of you guys, but have you ever met him? And what do you think about the fact that Darren is going from Moto3 to MotoGP? That's an incredible opportunity for him.
Yeah, it's going to be a big step. I've never seen either of them race in person besides from the grandstands. I don't know them. I've met them once at it was actually like their signing. This was like 3-4 months into me racing and figuring out, oh, there's other South Africans in world stages. So I went to like one of his signings, and they were both there. That's the only time I met them. But yeah, from Moto3 to MotoGP, it's like going straight from a 300 to 1,000. It's definitely a big step. But I think with time, from what I've seen, he's a good rider. I mean, obviously he's very good racing in Moto3 and now getting a MotoGP ride. Very good. So I want to see what he's able to do, and it's exciting. Now I can watch MotoGP and watch 2 South Africans.
Yeah, there you go. Same way as we are about our American riders. So let's talk about that transition a little bit, because some of the riders in our series have gone from Junior Cup into Twins Cup. For instance, let's see, Max Toth has done that. There have been a few other riders. You went into Supersport. Was that a big jump for you, or was it not too bad?
It was big. The first time I got in the 600 at Jennings, I was a little nervous because I knew the season was coming up pretty quick. But then again, it was just those small little goals, just setting those little goals at time after time, not trying to do anything crazy. Once I break that goal, say, okay, is the next goal achievable? And if it is, how do we get there? And I think that's the biggest thing, I think, for anyone. If anyone wants to obviously get somewhere in any career or any lifestyle, it's just those small goals. Obviously, you want to have one long-term goal, but those small goals make it mentally way easier for you. So I think if anyone has to take any advice from this podcast or anything, it's just have one big goal, one crazy goal, and then you have to have those small goals that help you get to that big goal.
So Sam, here's one out of left field for you. This when I was in college a long time ago in a land far away, this is kind of inconceivable to me to even imagine this, but I remember there were people that didn't know me or I hadn't met yet, and they would say, oh man, you're a lot nicer than I thought. When I would see you walking around campus, you looked like you're always mad at the world or something. And I was kind of befuddled by that. I never understood that. So I think ever since then, I've always kind of been a lot more goofy about things, because I don't want people to misunderstand me as being some overly serious, cranky person. And the reason I bring this up is because I don't think this is surprising to you to know that some people think that you're like super serious all the time, but you're actually a pretty delightful kid and you like to laugh, but you just have one of those looks where you're thinking serious all the time. I'm sure you've heard that before. And I mean, it's just you, right? What can you do? That's just the way you are.
So. Yeah, unfortunately, I've heard that a lot from my dad a lot, smile more, but the thing is, I have a hard problem, like right now, moving around, trying to fiddle with my hands and everything. I have a hard problem concentrating. So I think at a race weekend, I have to concentrate a little more than any other day because I'm racing a bike. It's very dangerous. And I tend to, if I don't concentrate to my max, I tend to wander around in my head and then start making mistakes, and then it starts getting dangerous, and I can't just say, hey guys, I can't race this weekend. I'm thinking of other things. So definitely at the racetrack, I'm more serious. I don't really talk to a lot of people, but I love speaking to the fans. I don't really like speaking to competitors as much as speaking to like fans or even friends, just because I'm racing against them and I have to concentrate so hard to beat them that it takes a weekend. I'm so mentally tired from just trying to focus, because I just don't have a good like I just can't keep anything on task. Like I just can't do something that I want besides racing, like, and then finish it, and then I'm yeah. So I don't know, just
I mean, dude, I can totally identify with that because I'm really the same way. I mean, when I'm out in the garage working on my bikes or something, I have this look on my face of determination, and I look like I'm mad at the world, but that's not it at all. I can't multitask. I have to be completely focused on what I'm doing. And I probably would have been that way as a racer too. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Sam. So I'm glad we had that part to talk about, because when I see you, I kind of knew that. So most of the time I will approach you without any reservations, but at the same time, I know you're concentrating, so I don't want to break your concentration, but I'm kind of a goofball now. So I'm just going to go at it when I see you and just say, hey, Sam, how's it going? You know, I don't care.
Yes.
It's all good, I think, but I'm just excited that you're going to be in the 200, and I'm looking forward to what else might be going on with the this year, because man, you really had a breakthrough year this year, and it's all up from here. You got huge upside going. So very cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but sure, now you're gonna get me thinking about this straight facing. But
Sorry.
no,
Don't overcompensate, believe me, because that's what I try to do too. And
Yeah.
then I end up going the other way, and I think people think I'm the village idiot walking around. So
It's good. But yeah, outside of the racetrack, I'm the most fun person that I know of, and I don't really know a lot of people, so that might be why. But uh, other other than that, at the racetrack, I'm definitely a different person, but I'm not angry or anything, but just a little more focused.
yeah.
My way's the easier way. You just stay distracted and smile your way through it.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too good on a bike.
All right, Sam, we appreciate you joining us today. You were a wonderful guest, as we knew you would be. So thanks for that. Congratulations on starting your off season so well with Daytona, and the experience that you gained there will obviously help you a lot when we go there in March. And we're all looking forward to getting things started at Daytona, because it's going to be something different for us, and it'll be a lot of fun. And what's cool about it is a lot of our riders will be in the same situation as you're in, and in the fact that a lot of those guys will be their first time. So thanks for joining us. And Sean, thanks for hanging in there today. And both you guys go home and smile in the mirror or something and get used to it.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm smiling right now.
All right, you guys take care of yourselves, and we'll talk soon.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for
Bye.
having me.